Just touching on what you were talking about mobile research and the perception of it, that it's still very new in the US, but in other areas of the world, it's just, to use your words, one of the tools in the toolbox already.
Except the mobile research is really going to take over to a large extent. What's going on, particularly here.
Yeah.
But even in the rest of the world, in the emerging areas of the world that skipped past desktop computers to get into the internet, and now are getting the internet for the first time on their mobile phones. Mobile is becoming omnipresent, and for researchers, it's becoming a must-understand and must-use capability.
Yeah.
My concern about mobile is, will we handle people who we want to get to take mobile researchers, will we handle them appropriately, carefully, and comfortably, so that they're going to want to participate?
Yeah.
Because I'm old enough to have seen telephone calls at 6 o'clock during, dinner hour, basically wipe away people's willingness to answer calls on the phone. And I warned, and I've also seen the internet that had very high response rates in the beginning, and these days 1%, 2%, 3%. So I hope we don't do that with mobile, but honestly, I don't have great hopes that we're going to deal with that situation any differently than we've done the other two and others.
Yeah. I think what's quite interesting about mobile is that in a very short space of time, when people say the word mobile, I think that's going to start to encompass lots of things that are mobile that will eventually collect data and already do collect data. So at Research Gaming, I'm sure you can imagine, Bob, we've always got one eye on.
We did a report on our RBDR, I think it was last month, and talked about how very quietly a lot of the apps that people are downloading for their phones are collecting information about them.
Yes,
and very few people.
This is a really big issue that has been caught by mainstream media as well over here in the UK. But what's also quite interesting, and again, a threat to people's privacy potentially, is when we talk about mobile, what do we mean by mobile? So when we think of mobile, we think of our mobile devices, we think of our iPhones and our Android phones and our tablets. But very soon, mobile will mean wearable clothing, things like Google Glass. People are referring to mobile, not really thinking about Google Glass, but actually that is a mobile device that can collect data, and smart fabrics, and GPS footwear, and all these other very interesting technologies that are all already existing, not out there for the masses to maybe even purchase, but will eventually probably get used by the market research industry. So something like the Apple iWatch. There's talks here in research going to think, what if eventually the market research industry did surveys that were accessible and viewable on the iWatch, and people could just sort of go like that and answer a few questions.
Betty, I would be shocked if that comes to pass. I really would be. I think we're moving away from asking questions.
Yes, that's right.
I think asking questions is going to be relegated to a handful of more traditional modes. Now, that's not to say that something brand new couldn't be built out there that would change that. But question on their iWatches. How much longer they really don't be willing to answer questions on their iPhone. But the other thing that I've heard that really amazes me is that there is a relatively limited use of the software that can turn your mobile survey into something that's compatible with whomever the mobile user happens to be. In other words, if you've got an iPhone or you've got a Samsung phone or a Nokia phone or whatever, that there is software out there, and everyone is pretty much aware of this, that can automatically transform it into something that's compatible with each type of phone that's out there and do it automatically. And yet, despite the fact that it's available, I believe somebody told me it's only really being utilized in maybe 40% of the mobile surveys that are actually sent. There was a recent study that came out that talked about the fact that a great number of the surveys that are still being sent out there are not being prepared to be mobile compatible.
Yeah.
And that's shocking in and of itself.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to change in the next year or two. But the fact that we're still not making that transformation possible and thinking about it ahead of time, when so many people are relying on their cell phones, for their daily communication.
Yeah, and I think it was Nielsen who last year produced a report which stated what many of us know already, but that internet usage on mobile phones has surpassed internet usage on laptops and PCs. So obviously that's taking us to this very clear evidence-based understanding now that if you want to reach people, it's got to be mobile compatible as well.